Welcome to the Trainer Talk, where we discuss topics related to health and fitness to help you gain back control of your health and fitness and become the absolute best version of yourself physically and mentally. Enjoy. We are live for another Trainer Talk. So today we're going to be talking about why it is that highly restrictive diets are actually harmful to us rather than being beneficial for weight loss. So we'll just kind of open up discussion, bounce ideas off of each other, and hopefully we can inform the audience on why that is so that we can point them in the right direction and hopefully help people make the decision not to do any restrictive diets moving forward to avoid that kind of yo-yo and unsustainable approach. So I guess that's the first thing is it's very unsustainable. So let's get into maybe why that is.
Yeah. So the reason why it's not super sustainable to have a highly restrictive diet is just because it's hard to live everyday life when, if you're doing, say, keto or carnivore or something like that. And then, you go out with family, with friends, and, you can maybe stick to it for a few months or so, but after a year, after so long, you just would get tired of it, and most people do. They do great for some months, they get great results on one of these highly restrictive food group diets or the 1,200 calorie diets.
Yeah, I was gonna say it could be even like I speak to a lot of people that how many calories do you think you eat in a day, and they're like, maybe 800 or 1,000 or 1,200, and pretty much anything less than 1,200, you're going to be in a pretty restrictive place. Most people need more than 1,200 for even just daily living, essential for bodily functions.
Right.
So just to give you guys an idea.
Yeah. So some of them, you can find them on the internet of what these models ate to get to where they are, what, people that play in movies, actors, actresses, what their diet was, and following that's very heavily restrictive. And it's very hard to stick to long term because your body ends up fighting against you because your body thinks that it's starving, and you are. It's just hopefully a controlled starve with, even if you are eating 800 or 1,200 calories a day, that's still a lot less than what you're actually burning, especially if you're working out. And what that leads to is mostly your hormones change in your body. So your thyroid hormone production really decreases, and then your hunger hormone really gets skyrocketed after you lose a certain amount of body weight. And the less body fat you have, the more of that hunger hormone you have, and so it spurs you and drives you to eat way more than and also spurs cravings as well. So the longer you're in that restrictive place, the stronger the signal that it's going to end up sending to your body to hey, we need to eat a lot more food. And usually what happens is, say you stick to it for a month, highly restrictive, one day you're just you know what, F it, I'm going to go and eat, a Big Mac meal, and then I'm going to have Dairy Queen blizzards, and then I'm going to eat pizza, and I'm going to drink, and all these different things. And then you swing the pendulum drastically in the other direction. Is usually what it leads to.
Yeah.
I think when you see a lot of the actors too, those famous actors like you talked about, where they have those YouTube videos on their diets and whatnot, barely any of them are ever in that good a shape year round. Right. It's kind of just this prep during that preparation for the film. We just watched what was it, Roadhouse not that long ago with Jake Gyllenhaal, and he's ripped in it, right? He's probably not like that year round. You cannot sustain that type of restrictive diet and being that lean and that good a shape year round and enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he goes out and has dinner with his family and gets dessert, things like that, when he's not preparing for a film like that.
Yeah. And all those people who do that, if you talk to them, they're probably miserable during that prep time when they're not eating. You can't enjoy life if you're not eating and you don't have energy because you're not eating. And my favorite analogy ever is that food is literally fuel for your body. So we say, just like a car needs gas, your body needs food, or else your body is literally going to break down slowly and things are going to shut down and stop working. And I mean, there's just endless side effects that come from not eating. And you're just going to feel miserable. And I've talked to people who've done like bodybuilding competitions, like bikini competitions, girls, and they talk about how miserable it is to be in that prep. And then after that, when they do start eating normal, they struggle with disordered eating and thinking that they can't eat these. Yeah, they think they can't eat these foods ever just because they couldn't eat them while they were prepping, and they're cold when they're in the prep because they have literally no body fat. Their hair might be thinning out. Your face gets sunken in. Like, it's miserable, and I don't think any of them actually enjoy it, but they do it for the show.
Yeah, so that's some of the side effects. Like, for one, your metabolism does slow down. If you are in a highly restrictive, you may lose weight really quickly, which that's the appeal for everybody, right? They want to lose as much weight as possible in the shortest amount of time with the least amount of effort. So they do these highly restrictive diets. Yes, you might lose a bunch of weight, but you're also going to lose a lot of muscle with that. Your metabolism is actually going to slow down once you get too low, so that everything you do eat, you might start hanging on to. Your mental energy and clarity decreases, and you actually end up craving sugars and snacks even more because your body's like, hey, we need fuel, and what's the quickest fuel source we can possibly get? Simple carbohydrates. You know, I was just having a conversation with somebody this week who enjoys a soda like every single day and loves to snack, kind of like that mindless snacking. And I asked her, I was like, well, how many meals do you typically eat? Like, would you say you undereat or overeat? She says, well, usually, sometimes I don't even have breakfast. Sometimes it might not even be a lunch and it's just a dinner. And then like some snacks. And I said, it's possible that you're actually undereating. And so your mind is literally craving those things because it actually needs fuel. It needs carbohydrates. Your brain utilizes 25% of the calories that you intake every day just to be able to have the mental energy that you need. So it's not just your body for being able to do stuff that you need to do. Your brain needs that fuel. So you can imagine if you restrict that brain of fuel, it almost feels like you're drunk. You know, you don't have the clarity, the energy to do things. That's why you experience that brain fog. And then you have a lot less willpower. So we just did an episode a couple weeks ago on willpower, on how actually your nutrition and stuff like that can help fill up that tank every day so you can make those better decisions. Well, if your tank's drained every single day, you're going to make pretty poor decisions. It's only going to be a matter of time before you're like, screw this. Let's go get some ice cream. Let's go get some snacks, pizza, drinks. I can't do this anymore. And then you go way the other way. And that's why 9 times out of 10, people that do these restrictive diets put more weight on than they started with because they've lost the muscle mass. Their metabolism's slower. They can't sustain that diet for very long. And then they go back to their old habits, basically in a worse position than what they started in. And then they do this yo-yo kind of consistent. So those are some of the side effects that I would never want to experience, and that's why we don't ever suggest those restrictive ways. But
and like another thing that people don't consider when they do a very restrictive diet is your job isn't just to diet and work out. Your job is to go to work. Your job is to possibly take care of your family, like do things around the house. The people that diet this extremely are actors who have their meals made for them. Like somebody professionally cooks those meals for them. They probably someone that cleans their house, and they're prepping. That's part of their job. That is their job. Same thing with like a professional bodybuilder that's cutting down for a show. It's like that is their job. Maybe they do a desk job with it too, but if you have a lot of other demands in your life, such an aggressive diet is going to take away from everything else that you do. Like you're not going to have any desire to basically do anything other than probably sit on the couch after a while because you don't have the energy coming in. So your body will naturally just start to do less of the like non-exercise activity. So, maybe if you're eating normally and like you're maintaining your body weight, you walk around a decent amount, you're cleaning the house, you're just fidgeting more, moving more. If you're really restrictive and like getting down to like, lower body fat levels, or even if you just have been dieting for a long time, you won't be talking as much, you won't be moving as much, you won't think as much, like you won't want to do as much work, and you'll basically just want to like sit there, and you can only maybe muster up a little bit of energy in your workouts. They're not going to be as productive. your workout performance is going to tank
You won't
because
recover from
you
it.
won't recover. You'll be super sore. You won't be able to lift as much weight for reps. So it really does take a toll on your body. So taking that into consideration, how it doesn't just affect, okay, this is a means to an end. It's, no, this is going to affect every other part of my life if you go too restrictive on it.
Yep.
Yeah. And also, like, some other side effects are like leading to depression and more anxiety, which, I mean, we work out to kind of like help those things. But yeah, if you're working out way too much and not eating enough, you're putting even more stress on your body, which can actually increase your anxiety and depression. And I mean, if you're not even going out to eat with your family and friends because you don't want to be around all that food, well, that's depressing to just sit in your house by yourself all the time. Or like you are going out with your friends and family, but you're not eating anything that
You're
you
worried
enjoy
about it the
ever.
whole time.
Yeah, you're stressed about
You're
like,
stressing about it.
can I eat this?
Yeah.
Like, how many calories is this? If you're constant, I mean, we want to eat healthy, but if you're constantly doing that, like, that's more stress, more anxiety, more depression. So it's just like,
So it ruins like your
battle.
social life as
Yeah.
well, which is such a key element to actually overall health and
being
wellness
happy.
anyways,
Right.
is social connections and relieving stress.
Yeah.
And like the obsession of food too, of
Yes.
like, okay, when's my next meal going to be? What's it going to be? Like, oh, I need to meal prep, and like going out and, oh, okay, like how many calories does this have? Or like, does this fit my keto? Does this fit paleo? You know, like it's a lot of stressful things. So it's definitely something to be cautious about.
Yeah.
It almost just makes it worse. Yeah.
Yeah. What I try to like get people to try to understand is, you know, if you, two different scenarios, like if you stepped on the scale and let's say, you know, you started out and you're 165 pounds and you really want to be, you know, lighter weight. Let's say you want to lose 25 pounds. Like if you stepped on the scale and you were 140, but you had no energy, you didn't feel any more confident, you were highly stressed, you're still unhappy. Is that better than stepping on the scale and being 155 pounds, only 10 pounds less, but you feel great, you have more energy, more confidence, you're stronger? Like, what would you rather have? It's not about the number on the scale, it's about how you feel. And that's what people don't tend to grasp because it's just, they want that objective thing, like, oh, I can see on the scale that I'm making progress. And they just get fixated on that number rather than just internally, how do you actually feel? You know, I would rather have somebody that loses 5 pounds than 25 pounds if they feel better, more confident, stronger, more energetic, better home life, better work life, less stress, all that kind of stuff.
The other person might have no energy, no drive, no motivation to come to the gym. They're not being social with and going out with their family, but they still lost 25 pounds. So, you know.
Right. It's like, is the juice worth the squeeze at that point?
Exactly.
And the thing is, like, you know, say it took him 3 months to drop 25 pounds, or even, well, say 2 months, right? 2 months to drop 25 pounds. And then it took the other person the 2 months to drop, you know, 5 or 10 pounds. But the person that lost 5 or 10 pounds, they're just going to be in a much better state because they're not going to feel like they were super overly restrictive. And they were
not
like,
going to feel deprived or anything.
Right. And then the other person, you know, they've been miserable for 3 months. So it's like, can you sustain that level of discomfort for 3 full months? And it doesn't seem like a long time until you're in it. And then you're like, oh no, like, you know, 12 weeks. It's like 1 week in, you're probably like, uh-oh, this is getting kind of tough. 2 weeks in, 3 weeks in, it's starting to hit you.
Yeah.
And it's like, imagine extending that over 12 weeks. Like, that's a long time to be just in a poor mood. Like, you're probably going to be more snappy too. Like, I mean, I'm not in a great mood if I'm hungry.
Yeah, hangry.
That's a real thing.
Yeah.
It is.
I don't necessarily get hangry, but things stress me out easier, I would say. Like, if I've got a little bit of food in my belly, like, I'm doing pretty good. But yeah, like, if you're just constantly hungry, like, imagine what that would do to your personal life. You know, it's like, okay, I'm 25 pounds down, but you know, I don't have any friends anymore because I've been super mean to them and I don't want to go out with them. So it's just like, you know, it's like, what's the gain from losing 25 pounds at that point? It's like, okay, cool. Maybe you do fit into that one dress that you really liked, but you can do the 25 pounds, just spread it out. So like, do chunks, kind of like we talked about before, like do a chunk where you lose 10 pounds in a few months, just consistently with good habits, and then go back up to your maintenance for a while and just hang out there, like enjoy going out again and things like that, and then lose the rest. Like it doesn't have to be instant. That's what everybody wants, is like, I want to lose 25 pounds as fast as I can.
Yep.
And that's the motivation for it. But then everything else, all the bad side effects come with it even faster too.
Yeah. It really comes down to like what is the goal? Like, what are you attaching it to? So for example, a lot of people have more of an external goal, like, oh, I want to lose 20 pounds so that I look good on my cruise coming up.
Yeah.
That's a very superficial goal. You're not going to be successful. As soon as you get done with that cruise, you're going to probably put all your weight back on and be unhappy again. So it's like, why do you want to look good on the cruise? Like, do you want to feel more confident? Like, what's the reason, behind it? That's what you really need to search for, is an internal goal. Like, do you actually want to feel more confident, feel good about yourself, love the way you look and feel all the time? That should be the goal. So a lot of people need to adjust their external goal for more of an internal goal. That's why, like, when we do our coaching with clients, like, we ask, why do you want to do this 5 layers deep, and figure out those 2 or 3 really powerful reasons why they want to change. And if you can attach it to something deeper within you, it's going to make you way more successful. And that's why these diets are so popular, because people never do that. They just like, oh, it'll be nice to like look good for summer, or look good on my cruise or vacation, but they don't attach it to anything deeper than that. So that starts there for sure. You also need to think more long-term. This isn't just, you don't live for a month, you live for 80 years. Like, what do you want to look like a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now? What do you want to be able to do? And how do you want to feel? Things like that. It's not just about looking good in 2 months, right? So I guess if you guys want, what we could do is kind of give the audience a little bit of insight on, like, okay, what does like a comfortable amount look like? Like, how much should they be eating? How should they feel, etc. So we kind of mentioned earlier, like the minimum amount of calories. If you're below 1,200, your body's going to kind of start not functioning properly. And what we mean by that is, like, mentally, physically, you're not going to have the energy, the mindset, the mental clarity. You're going to be deficient in vitamins and minerals, so you might lose muscle, bone density, all that kind of stuff. The processes in your body start to slow down. Real quickly, just for fun, do you guys remember what your basal metabolic rates are from your body scans?
I was just going to say this has to do with that. Remember when Bethany and I compared our body scans?
Yeah.
And how different our resting metabolic rates are.
Mine's like 16 something.
Yeah, and mine was way lower than that, and but
it was still probably what, 13 or 1,400?
I think yours is closer to 12, 13.
Realistically, if you multiplied your weight by about 10, it's roughly your basal metabolic rate for women. I think it's 11 for men, because mine's around 2,100, 2,000, and I'm 190-ish, 195 pounds. So like me and Lauren multiplied our body weight times 11. It's going to be roughly our basal metabolic rate. Same thing for women, but multiply it by 10. And it's obviously going to matter a little bit on your
muscle mass.
Where you're at, your muscle mass. Yeah. The more muscle mass you have, the higher your basal metabolic rate's going to be. So obviously that's another really important reason why you want to fuel your body, eat enough protein along with strength training, because if you can maintain / build more muscle, you're actually going to be able to burn more body fat and keep it off a lot easier as well. So if you're, just for an example, let's say, like, let's use our average busy mom. Maybe she's 40, 45 years old, a couple kids. Like, if she's around 175 pounds, her basal metabolic rate could be around that 1,500 to 1,700 calories potentially. And obviously she might not have as much muscle mass if she's not working out all the time. So it could be a little bit lower than that, but it's going to be at minimum 1,400. And that's if that person woke up, turned on the TV, laid in bed, watched TV for 13 hours until she went back to sleep, did not move whatsoever. She's going to burn about 13, 14, 1,500 calories doing absolutely nothing for her body to operate, normally, right? So that's not including any activity. But she's a mom, so she's probably running around with the kids. She's got to go to work. Maybe she's got to take them to practice after school. She's got to do dishes, laundry, make dinner, all that stuff. That mom could be burning upwards of 2,000 calories a day, maybe even higher than that. So if you're looking to lose body fat, you want to be in a slight deficit of that calorie burn. So if you do burn 2,000, you'd want to be maybe 200, 300, 400 calories under that amount, would you say?
Yeah. The goal for people would be, I would recommend, like maybe a 1% loss of body weight per week or less for something that's not super restrictive. So if you're 150 pounds, that'd be 1.5 pounds a week.
We recommend even like half to 1 pound of body fat.
Right. Yeah. I would honestly recommend a little bit less, which, you might not even see that on the scale if you are losing body fat. And then sometimes, just water weight fluctuations can hide that. So, that's, like anywhere between like 3 to maybe 500 calories a day deficit for females, depending on what your activity levels are, like what your maintenance calories would be. Like, I mean, do you know like what your maintenance calories are, like with your activity, like added on to that? If you were to guess.
Maintenance?
Yeah.
Probably at least 2,000 or 2,100.
Yeah.
If I'm not in a deficit.
Right. So like you're just maintaining your body weight, hanging
Probably
out.
21. 2,000 to 21.
Right. So like for you, if you, took 300 calories off, you'd be 1,800. Like that's a significant deficit to like lose body fat, but you still have energy to, play with Wyatt and do your workouts and things like that. You're not overly restrictive.
Yeah.
Versus if you cut, say, 600 calories off,
I'd be exhausted.
you'd be exhausted. Like you'd lose weight faster, but
Yeah.
you'd be exhausted. You'd be eating, 1,600 calories a day. Like that's not as much.
Plus, you might be losing muscle mass as well.
Right. Yeah. And that's the problem with the super restrictive diets is losing the muscle mass, which is why your metabolic rate goes down so far. But then if you have more room to play with, say, maybe if you are more active or you just like have a higher lean body mass, like I do, my maintenance calories are like 2,800. So I could cut 500 calories off and I'm still at 2,300. And so it's just, you kind of have to base it like for guys too, right? You could cut 1,000 calories off of yours and still be eating, 2,500 calories a day at least.
Yeah.
Right? Like you guys could cut 2 pounds a week pretty easy and just go down to, 2,500 calories or 3,000 even. I don't know how much you guys eat, but
Probably 3,500. Yeah.
Right. So
That's my maintenance.
it is like taking into account like, okay, different body sizes, different, what do you do for work? Like how much do you actually burn? Not just being so cookie cutter, because a lot of the diets are very cookie cutter of like, okay, like
certain body weight.
Yeah, it's just, it doesn't take into account all those different factors. So
One thing I do want to point out on that is like, let's say, okay, so right now I'm like 195, probably around 6% body fat. I've got about 100 pounds of muscle mass. And so including my activity, my maintenance is like 3,500 calories, probably 32 to 3,500. Whereas if I was the same age, didn't work out, let's say I was 20% or even 15% body fat, my total energy expenditure would probably only be like 2,500. So by being a little bit more physically active, having more muscle mass, I can afford to eat an extra 1,000 calories without gaining any weight.
that's a big blizzard.
So
Yeah.
that's, if you love food, there's all your reason right there to start working out
Yeah.
and gain some muscle mass.
Yeah.
If you love to eat, gain some muscle mass, and you can actually afford to eat more realistically.
As a funny side note, we were talking about dipping Oreos in peanut butter the other day. It's just like us and like a couple other people who like do competitive CrossFit, and we were like, "Do we just work out to eat?" And it's like, "Yeah, pretty much."
I always.
It's like we just work out so we can eat. Well, not whatever we want, but
No, we still eat
more.
clean, but we get to eat more.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, you have like a
And-
bigger budget to like play and have
Yeah.
fun with.
The only side effect to that is like, yes, we can eat more, but if you do eat kind of more junk food, you definitely feel it a little bit more, the
Yes.
mental side. Like,
Right.
I
you
want to
don't-
feel energized and focused. Like,
Yeah.
I really care about mental clarity and focus and
Mhm.
stuff like that. So the cleaner you eat, along with getting the amount of calories that you need to perform, you also get the mental benefit of it too.
Right.
So those are two reasons why I, A, eat a lot of food, performance, and then B, I want that mental clarity so I can get as much work done as possible every single day.
Yeah. I would like to play a little devil's advocate for like some restrictive diets, like say it's, paleo or it's keto or carnivore, or like low carb or something like that. Even though it is restrictive and you don't ideally want to do it for the rest of your life, you could if you really wanted to, but most people wouldn't want to. Even if you did do it for a short amount of time, it's focusing on developing the healthy habits. So if you do keto, like focusing on, higher protein, higher vegetables, higher healthy fats, and lower carbohydrates. So still focusing on those things, because it does make the diets and your choices simpler. It doesn't necessarily make anything easier, it just makes things simpler. Like even like carnivore, where it's like, you just eat animal products,
Gives
which
you the blueprint.
right, it's like, if you did that for a little bit, but then you focus on adding in, now we're going to add in more healthy carbohydrates back into the diet. Like have an exit plan if you do want to try, keto, or if you do want to try some sort of fasting or carnivore, like something a little bit more restrictive. Like have an exit plan afterwards, so that you're not just like going back to
Or
where you
like
were.
intermittent fasting, if people are eating like just 2 meals a day where it's pretty low calories, like have some sort of plan to add in back in, like if it doesn't end up working out to where you can do it forever, that's going to be important so that you don't just completely go off the rails.
Right.
I would also say on that, like if you're somebody that absolutely loves carbohydrates, don't try keto. Like you're going to set yourself up for failure.
Yeah.
Like, but if you're somebody that's like, I can do without breads and carbs. Like I like fat and then by all
protein,
means try it out,
vegetables,
right? Like if you're somebody, but don't go into keto and be like, I can eat any fats. I can have a bunch of butter and bacon and all this stuff. Like, no, don't do it for that reason either. You still should choose healthier whole food options,
Right.
no matter what kind of plan you're doing.
Yeah. There's like a good way or a better way to do those types of like restrictive diets than I guess what's glorified, trying to do like, I'm going to eat all this super high fat foods, or like all the processed like keto snacks that you can find at the store are ridiculous. It's like, it's just the idea of keto is to eat, a little bit cleaner, like a little better. And then if you're trying to eat these keto brownies, it's like, it's 400 calories a brownie. That's no different than a regular brownie. You're just doing it keto.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you eat a whole sheet pan of keto brownies, it's 2,000 calories. Like,
calories are
not
calories.
Gonna,
At the end of the day,
I'm like,
people.
keto's not
And it's
magic.
all
It's
the
about controlling the actual calories you're eating.
Yeah.
And so, hey, if it works for you and you don't feel overly restricted by it, cool, great. Do your thing. But for most people, it's probably not the best idea to do a overly restricted diet.
No.
Do more of like focusing on the healthy habits of portion sizes, eating more mindfully instead of the mindless snacking. I think that's a big thing they get people, and they don't realize how much they're actually eating, or like calorie wise. They'll grab a handful of nuts here and there, and they'll be like, like I ate pretty good and had a salad for lunch and blah blah blah. And
didn't realize they ate the whole bag.
Right, or didn't realize that they snagged 6 pieces of candy, 6 Reese's peanut butter Reese's trees from a candy jar.
Yeah. Another thing that people don't take into consideration is what they drink. Like, I've had clients in the past where it was like, I just can't figure out why I'm not losing weight. I'm eating better. I'm working out 3 days a week. And then months later, I find out that they drink, half a dozen sodas a day. And I'm just like, it's 40 grams of sugar per soda. It's 240 grams of sugar, almost 1,000 calories just in sodas.
Yeah, that's
And you didn't seem to want to, add that up or anything. So it's just like,
that's why
you got to take into account everything you put in your body, not just focusing on the good stuff that you're doing.
Yeah.
You gotta
Super sugary coffees and stuff like that too.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're just, people don't
Yeah,
think about.
coffee
They're
is
like,
not
it's
what's
just
bad
coffee.
for you. It's what you add
It's
to
what
it.
you add
Right.
to it. Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, and even just like a latte with the sugar-free syrups, like that's still over 100 calories.
Yeah.
Because of the milk and cream and everything that's in there. So
Yeah.
even if you're making like a healthier choice, it's still additional calories. Which, if you have the budget for it, cool. Like
it should still be a treat. It's
right.
something that you have every once in a while, but probably not every single day.
Right.
Yep.
For most people.
Yeah, and that's why, basically what we do is we try to do 80-20. 80% of the time we're trying to eat healthy whole foods, fueling your body. 20% of the time we kind of enjoy whatever. That's going to lead to more sustainability. You'll be able to do it forever. You can kind of still eat what you like. The most important thing is just making sure that you're fueling your body, like Caitlin said. Like, everything that you put in is fuel for the body. And if you're choosing a bunch of junky options, like, you're going to feel like crap. You're going to feel like whatever you're putting in, the junk food. So try to think of it like you take, kind of like your car. Like, you have to change the oil regularly. You got to put gas in it. If you put a really crappy gas and you never change the oil, you're going to break down. You're not going to run right. You're going to lose power, things like that. So it's no different than the quality of food and the amount of food that you put in your body. But any other tips?
Just don't do it.
I would say, like, just start eating when you're hungry and stop when you're full. Like,
learn how to listen to you.
Listen to your body. Like, if you're starving yourself and you're super hungry, that's not something that's going to be sustainable. If you're eating past the point of fullness, if you eat too quickly, that's typically when you're going to do that. If you eat really fast and then you're like, oh, I'm still kind of hungry, and then you have it more, and then like 10 minutes later, you're like, oh, wow, that was a bad idea. I'm super stuffed. Yeah. Slow down your eating. It's as simple as that's going to be.
Like, usually when I leave here, I'm really hungry, and I make my food. I'm like, yes, finally.
Yeah.
But I have to force myself to slow down a little bit, because you're right. That's how you.
And
go ahead.
One tip is set a timer when you sit down to eat your meal, and time how long it takes you to eat a certain meal. And like, it's actually quite eye-opening, because I felt like I was eating fairly slow with the meal the other day, and like, lots of vegetables and proteins and everything. Still finished the meal in about 7.5 minutes. And I was like, taking my time, chewing. I wasn't just like shoveling food in, and I'm like, how fast do I eat some of these meals? I was like, it's got to be like 5 minutes. Like, am I doing a 5-minute AMRAP for my meals? And your hunger and satiety cues don't kick in until 20 minutes after you've started eating your meal. And so, like, what you could do is you could set a timer, eat your food. If you still feel hungry afterwards, just like wait till the timer hits 20 minutes, and then like if you're still hungry, go eat more food. But by then you're probably either moved on to something else, or you're like, oh, okay, like I'm good with what you have.
I think I took like 4 minutes to eat my food yesterday.
Yeah, and it depends on what you're eating too. Like, if you gotta cut it.
If you think about sugary carbs, you can eat that in no time.
3 eggs, oatmeal, and a bagel.
The bagels, you can just if you make a breakfast sandwich, you can eat that in like 2 minutes.
It's the first thing that goes down.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. I would also recommend 4-week track every single thing you put in your mouth and drink.
MyFitnessPal, write it down on paper, whatever you need to do to track it.
Yeah. I'd highly recommend an app, just so you can actually get the numbers, because you might think, oh, it's I'm doing really well, but you cooked your chicken and oil and put butter on broccoli. But if you're just writing down chicken, broccoli, rice, it looks like you're doing really well, but then you're like, oh, okay, there's a bunch of added fats from the oils that I use and everything like that. So a big thing is just becoming more aware of what you're doing. And I think that you can kind of pick and choose. You maybe don't realize snacking throughout the day. Like, talking to a client, they snack throughout the day. Didn't realize it until I was like, hey, track your food. And I just want to get a baseline of where you're at, right? And then they're like, oh, I didn't realize that I was just like grazing throughout the day. Like, I didn't have merry-minute meals, like big meals. So you don't actually feel like you're eating as much when you don't sit down to like a big meal, when you just snack throughout the day. So bring awareness to that.
Yeah. One last thing, like, if you want to figure out about how many calories you're burning, there's some great calculators. Like Precision Nutrition Calculator is what we typically use. It takes into account your basically lifestyle, like what you do for an occupation. Are you sedentary, active, lightly active? How often you work out? So how active are you with actual exercise? And then it'll give you a really good idea of like, okay, how much calories do I actually need per day, protein, etc. If you want help with that, let us know. If you want to know your basal metabolic rate, we can do a body scan here. Let us know. Other than that, hopefully this helps you guys and gives you some good advice and tips to move forward and make better decisions and hopefully find something that's more sustainable for you long term with your nutrition.
We end with the quote.
And we end with our quote of the day.
Our greatest weakness lies in giving up. The most certain way to succeed is always to just try one more time, from Thomas Edison.
So basically, if you feel like giving up, just say, I'm going to do it for one more day, or I'm going to do it for one more workout. I'm going to give it one more meal before you give up. And if you can do that one more time and you keep saying it over again, eventually it'll become a habit, and then you'll rely on the habit and it won't take so much willpower or discipline to do it. Cool. Until next time, stay healthy and have a great weekend. Thanks again for tuning in to the Trainer Talk. If you are ready to gain back control of your health and fitness, we would love to sit down and chat with you to see if we can put together a plan for you. All you have to do is head to taylorhutchinsonfitness.net and book a free consult. Again, make sure you like and subscribe if you like the video, and hopefully we'll see you soon.